Let freedom ring this afternoon at 2 with Sean Hannity, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. And the flight from Illinois, property taxes being a proximate cause for many. This post from J.C. Mayfield on Facebook came to my attention. My wife and I checked into a motel for our last night as Illinois residents. This was over the weekend. We packed and are moving to Missouri because it's closer to some family, further from some, and mutually inconvenient to all.
Hey, I see what they did there.
Yeah, we will live in a nicer home, and our annual property tax bill will be the same as I have been paying just for the Homeowners Association in Sycamore.
Oh, my gosh.
And then
Property taxes are awesome in Missouri.
Then he had some very nice things to say about me in the show. And,
and me. Enough
of
about
course.
me. What do you think of me?
And he said he's going to listen to us online, continue listening to us.
Listen to you online.
He said... When I was young, people were leaving Amarillo, Texas, in droves. Amarillo, Texas.
Why were they leaving Amarillo?
Someone purchased billboards and put out the message, "Will the last person leaving Amarillo please turn out the lights?" Illinois is not Amarillo in 1960, but wise people are leaving the state in droves. So now it's my turn to modify the phrase and say, "Will the last person leaving Illinois please turn out the lights?" Sort of a sad commentary, obviously. Again, the biggest indictment, people leaving who don't want to leave. Which brings us to our latest regional update of property taxes, doing these in suburban Cook and the Collars, Chicago Metro. We'll do some downstate, central and southern Illinois case studies as well. This is Kane County. We did Lake County last week. The owners of this West Dundee home, Srini Donpudi, was working as a wireless software engineer at Motorola in March of 2004 when he and his wife, Hema, bought a brand new 3,400 square foot, 5-bedroom red brick Georgian with a 3-car garage in West Dundee for $474,000. 2004. $474,000. $632,000 in today's dollars, adjusted for inflation. Its tax bill in 2004 was $7,300, about 1.5% of value. Last year, it had risen 67% to $12,000. 3.7% of the price the Dunpudis received for the home when they finally sold it just recently, July 25th. Sold it for $331,000. They bought for $474,000 in 2004. They sold for $331,000 in 2018. Along the way, those 14 years, they paid $150,000 in property taxes. An investment, a homestead, or an anchor? In Illinois, a home is an anchor.
Noose around your neck.
Because you're under the illusion that you own it, when in point of fact you're renting it from the government. It is collateral for somebody else's pension, and it is being diluted day after day by government. I mean, I don't know what it is that people don't see. I guess just people don't hear. The median... Just looking at median home sale prices and tax rates in a sampling of communities in Kane County. Again, looking January, June 2018 home sales, median prices, median taxes. West Dundee, where the Dunpudis recently sold. Median home price $220,000, median tax $7,100. That's 3.27% of home value. Again, more than 3 times the national average. Remember, next door in Indiana, capped at no more than 1% of home value is your residential property tax bill.
Even California capped property taxes. Can you imagine if they weren't? Because there's a lot of mansions there.
Maple Park, West Dundee, Tanner Woods, Algonquin, Sugar Grove, Pingree Grove, all at 3% of home value or greater. And then you've got another dozen communities that are 2.5% or greater, destroying home value, eating away at home equity. And you're seeing people get hammered. I mean, the Dunpooties in West Dundee, effective, constant dollars, 632 14 years ago, 331. So you lost half more while paying 150 grand in property taxes on top of it over 14 years. And if you look at these median home sale prices, you compare them 17 over 18 in a number of communities in Kane County, you're seeing negative returns. Well, you're seeing negative returns generally. You're also seeing a declining median home sale price, because that's the way this has to go as spend continues to go up at a 45-degree angle, and thus property taxes as the revenue source for the spend, local government, school districts in particular in the suburbs, go up at 45-degree angle as well. First 6 months of 2017 versus 2018 median home sale price is down, real dollars, in South Elgin, in Sleepy Hollow, in Sugar Grove, in Rainbow Hills, in West Dundee, in Maple Park. This is supposed to be a boom market, right? We're still recovering from the 2008 recession. Tanner Woods, Novak Park, Big Rock, Burlington, Five Island Park, Wild Rose, Caneville, all negatives, and some substantially. Now, there's also, too, this is somewhat anecdotal because there's, in some of these communities, there's only a handful of home sales over the comparative periods, but you get the point. It's sort of inescapable. And it's a state problem. There's a good piece by Ted Dabrowski in wirepoints.com explaining why Illinois mayors have little control over pension costs. For decades, Illinois has prided itself on being a local control state. Local control, authority closest to the people, subsidiarity, authority for policy decisions down to the lowest level of government. The reality is just the opposite, and nowhere is this more evident than in the state laws mandating pension benefits for police and firemen across Illinois, for example. Police and firemen, those are local employees, so there should be a local control issue ostensibly, right? The problem is state lawmakers impose one-size-fits-all government benefits, and local governments, meaning local residents, have no choice but to pay them. For some cities, that's bringing on bankruptcy. We talked about Harvey with massive layoffs of police officers. We've talked about North Chicago going the same way, and there are dozens and dozens and dozens of suburbs right behind them. Danville's pension funding levels have collapsed to levels that make them virtually insolvent. The police pension fund in 2016 had just 30 cents of every dollar it needs to ensure it can meet its future obligations. You know who else is in that same position? Actually, a little bit worse.
Who?
City of Chicago, police pension. Here's Danville. Here's what's happening, just to give you a sense of it. A retirement security for Danville workers. Again, just a case study here. The IMRF, Municipal Retired Workers Fund, 102% funded in 06, 72% funded in 16. Police went from 40 to 30. Firefighters in Danville from 30 to 17% funded. Wow. 17% funded. When those are unrecoverable funding levels.
Then what are they going to do?
Unretrievable debt.
Are the checks just going to bounce?
Well, this is the great question. What happens when
there's no more money?
The fund capsizes. You can't pay out current beneficiaries. Do you liquidate people's homes at a faster pace to just buy yourself more time? Do you tell pensioners, here's an IOU, so sorry, but we don't have money. You can litigate the matter, and then pensioners are without the pension checks, which they were relying on for their retirement, and they have to litigate the matter, and a bankruptcy court judge settles it. That's where this is going because there's no political will, and that starts with the electorate, to do anything other than careen over the edge. And I just ask the question, your pension, your home, or your job, which one are you going to give up? Because one is going, or more, will be taken from you by your government. That is going to happen. It's happening, actually. It's happening. It's just going to increase in pace. It may reach such a pace that you actually pay attention and you see it unfolding before your very eyes, rather than just be shocked when you try to go to get out from underneath your home. Steve in Winfield, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi there. Thanks for taking my call. I just want to talk about your property tax thing where you were saying that some places they're like 3 or 3.5% of the value or whatever.
Yeah.
I've got a rental house in Park Forest, South Suburb.
Yeah.
That I had it on the market recently for $49,000 and it never sold. And my property taxes there are something like $5,500. We're 11% of the price it wouldn't sell for. So,
yeah, I mean,
anyway.
Thanks for the call, Steve. That's
All right, thank you.
That's what's happened in the. I know that's what's happened in the Southland generally. It's been destroyed by property taxes. You've destroyed those South suburban communities through property taxation. Exactly what Steve is talking about. These examples, 10 and 11% of home value. And, of course, property taxes are the most confiscatory in the poorest neighborhoods because Chicago Democrats and this political ruling class that lords over Illinois, all the property tax appeals attorneys, the Mike Madigans and the Rob Martwicks, they care about you so much. They care about the poor. They care about middle-income families so much. They want you to make sure that you get a return on the investment you've made in Illinois by buying a home here because they care about you so much. And it's a wake-up call. If there's ever going to be one, I suppose. Ralph in Rantoul.
Yeah, good morning. I have an acquaintance who spent almost 20 years as the finance director of one of the largest cities in Illinois, not Chicago. And we used to go round and round and round because that city would always need more money for spending, and they would issue bonds. And for the people out there who don't know, bond is basically a business loan, okay? It's a loan. So loans have interest payments and payment of principal that has to eventually be paid.
That's treated as revenue in this state.
Oh, yeah. And we used to talk all the time, and I had odds constantly. I said, it's a spending problem. The more you spend, the more you borrow, and it increases the cost of living for all the people in your city, and it also warps the way they vote. And I think that's why the voters of Illinois are so brainwashed into the system, because all they know is the promises, the buying of the votes by the politicians for the inflated pension funds, get as many government workers as possible in unions so you can enslave them to promises of pension funds. And it's worse and worse and worse. I don't know how Illinois is going to get out of it. It's not affordable. They can't even pay the interest payments on the unfunded pension liability with this current state budget. There's not enough money there to go. The only way it's going to be solvable is if some of that liability is discharged. That's going to be like a firestorm.
Thanks for the call, Ralph. Eddie in Orland Park.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Hi.
I was talking, you're talking about residential property taxes. The commercial property taxes in this state is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I have a building in Blue Island that's worth maybe $375,000. My tax bill, $47,000.
Oh my gosh, that's highway robbery.
Well, it's a taking.
Amy,
it's a taking.
disgusting.
Yeah, it's the government confiscating your property. They just they just do it through taxation.
And it's $47,000 after I bought it. So now I have to pay my real estate attorney. I have to pay the appraiser, and I get no savings, and it's just unbelievable. This state is crazy.
Well, right. Thanks for the call, Eddie. I mean, in Blue Island, again, we're talking about the Southland. My majority minority communities, stripped of industry and now stripped of home ownership and being, kind of forcibly treated as payday loan recipients at best. That's what that is. Sean in Elmwood Park.
Not only is Eddie right, I'm actually going this morning to look at a commercial piece that I can't believe how low the price is. I'm taking a client there. But he's exactly right about the taxes. But here's what he's not telling you. The only ones buying the commercial are the villages themselves. So do you understand that means you, the people, are buying it? So you're paying the taxes, and they pretend that those taxes are being paid. That's why they keep going up on the non-government-owned property. You're living through the implosion of fraud, of their own failure. So they're trying to hide all these little municipalities, especially the ones where the villages are a little bit smarter than the average bear. They know not to create a panic. They buy it, and that's why you see these parking lots pop up out of nowhere. So now you've got a building, a parking lot that was paying $80,000, $60,000 in taxes, paying nothing. But here's the other thing, Prof, that I love that nobody talks about. Whenever you hire one of these Irish wannabe mobsters with their drunken pinstripe suits, your taxes get lowered. Poof, it's like magic. You mean I hire Eddie Burke and my taxes go down? Doesn't that really tell you that they know their taxes are wrong in the beginning? Not only that, it's automated. You could tell within a split second what the value of property is per foot.
As long as
they won't do it.
As long as they get their cut, right, Sean? Thanks for the call.
Connect with